The news and talk of Bloomington Normal, Cities 92.9. The views expressed on the following program do not necessarily reflect the views of Cities 92.9, its staff, management, or advertisers.
So there's some layers to this story, and I think it's important to talk about those layers here on Conservative Cats Cities 92.9, the news and talk of Bloomington Normal. Be sure to weigh in 309-451-9299. Check out this report from WMBD.
After Illinois State Police arrested a Pontiac police sergeant. According to Pontiac's police chief, Sergeant Robin Baum was arrested on Sunday. The 20-year veteran with the department is also now on administrative leave. Sunday morning, Pontiac police got a call of a physical domestic situation between Baum and his minor child. Pontiac police brought in state police to investigate since a police sergeant is involved. Troopers took Baum to the LaSalle County Jail. State police tell WMBD their investigation continues and no more info is being shared at this time. We've also reached out to the Livingston County State's Attorney. They confirm a special prosecutor is handling the case. The LaSalle County Jail tells WMBD his bond is set at $5,000.
Coming up, we're going to be talking with Tom Vigaski, and he's running against Ryan Baum, who is the brother of Robin Baum, who is affiliated with this WMBD report here, this incident. Now, there was a comment on this article, and I was like, we need to check this out. I'd probably look and see if Ryan's opponent was involved in any way in the incident, and if Robin is being charged, we should look into whether or not the opponent is involved. Low info voters are the easiest way to sway your opponent who's annihilating you. Ooh, that was a little spicy. So that's a quick tease. We're going to get into this story here. Jason Barackman really sticking it to the man. He's a senator, and if you haven't done so already, you need to call him and thank him. Now, the governor is grabbing a hold of anything within reach to try to trick people of the state of Illinois, and he's creating a fiscally responsible government while ignoring the fact that this year's budget was only attainable because Illinois received over $16 billion in federal bailout money. And he's trying to create this illusion. That's what Governor J.B. Pritzker is doing, make no mistake. Also, the state senator, Republican leader, Dan McConkey, he said that the truth is Pritzker continues to put Illinois on a path toward fiscal insolvency. Now, insolvency is it's impossible to even solve by increasing the state's spending and failing to address the systemic issues that are causing people to flee the state. Now, Barackman, he drew an analogy, and this is what he had to say. The analogy would be, we had a gaping wound on our leg that was hemorrhaging, and I think it has been bandaged well, but it's not healing. Barackman said that the 2023 budget passed by these Democrats is an election year budget, and make no mistake, that's exactly what it is. We don't just see it on the state level, we see it at the federal level. Listen to fumbles, mumbles Joe Biden and what he had to say on Friday.
Military, every vehicle is going to be climate friendly. Every vehicle. We're going to vote. No, I mean it. We're spending billions of dollars to do it.
So Mumbles said that the U.S. military, every vehicle is going to be climate friendly, every vehicle. And we're spending millions of dollars to do it. They don't care that they're spending all of this money. And I mean, this is basic high school economics. When you spend money like that and you put money out there and you just keep printing, that's what causes inflation. How can this guy get up there and say we're spending billions of dollars to do it? And what is a climate-friendly U.S.-grade military vehicle? I sure don't. I don't want my military-grade vehicle breaking down. Do you, Joe? When politics become kitchen table, it's hard to win re-election. I think voters are really in tune to the shift that has occurred on crime. And there are going to be these Democrats who get punished for that at the ballot box as a result. Listen to this clip of Lori Lightfoot when a reporter asks her, how the heck can you run as a Chicago mayor when you have put the city of Chicago in such a mess?
Every time you have a press conference, you say crime is down. The economy is booming.
Well, that's not true, but get your question, sir.
Across the street, we had a police officer on duty, the victim of a hit and run. We have Michigan Avenue, the magnificent miles now referred to as the Mile of Fear. The Water Tower Place has thrown the keys back to the lender. They say they don't want to be in Chicago anymore. Real Chicagoans are asking me, how could you possibly even consider running for re-election as mayor of the city of Chicago after all the harm you've caused?
Well, I disagree with you fundamentally, and I don't think I need to address and dignify your comments 1 second further. Next question.
I'm getting real sick and tired of these people who consistently say that I don't have to answer that question. I don't have to answer to my constituents. You know who is? They are answering to their constituents. That's the village of Hayworth. And they didn't raise taxes for a capital project. Hayworth didn't raise taxes to complete a capital improvement project that's going to cost about $4 million. And Hayworth government and village staff are proud of that. So there was a Hayworth Town Council meeting, and this Jeffrey Dodds, he's the village attorney and an executive assistant to the mayor, and he said that plans are ready to be presented for the proposed fiscal 2023 budget to the mayor and the village board for approval at a special meeting that they're going to have on April 28th. So he said that he's most proud of the fact that the proposed budget includes a $4 million capital project. They're using it to one of the largest project is $2 million. It's a 2020 water main project. The project is going to replace 11,000 feet of old water mains that have been in place since the 1930s and 50s. We need this kind of stuff here in Bloomington Normal. I mean, what is it where a community like Hayworth, and I know it's smaller and I know they're operating with a very, very small budget in comparison to Bloomington Normal, but the concept of spending is still there. Overspending is evil. Taxation is evil. Taxation is theft. When you don't need to, it is theft on the constituents. When you don't need to tax people, now, everything can be privatized, and that's just my take on it. I really do think that everything could be privatized if need be. And the fact that Normal and Bloomington consistently raise their taxes shows me that they aren't willing to bend on, hey, you know, what can we do to save money out of your pocket, especially amidst this inflation? When politics become kitchen table, that's when people start to realize, hey, we are going to start holding these people accountable at the ballot box. And that's what we're going to hit on next. It's Conservative Cat, Cities 92.9.
Cities 92.9's dependable weather from WMBD.
Highs near 72 for today with showers and thunderstorms as a cold front pushes through, especially areas east of the Illinois River. 1 or 2 storms could be on the strong side. WMBD meteorologist Adam Sherwinski.
You're never more than 20 minutes away from the latest Central Illinois weather forecast, guaranteed. Rain, shine, or snow, it's your dependable weather on Cities 92.9. Speak up. I can't hear you.
Are you having trouble hearing on the phone? If so, you need an amplified caption call phone. Wouldn't it be nice to be able to hear and read your conversation? All you need is a free hearing test at Always Hear Hearing Center to see if your hearing loss qualifies for a free amplified caption call phone. At Always Hear Hearing Center, we care about your hearing. Call 664-6200 today, and you'll be hearing better on the phone in no time.
The days are getting longer. The weather is getting warmer, and that means a trip to Bloomington Meats, the best meat on Bunn Street. Do what I do and make sure you are ready for those relaxing evenings in the yard with steaks or burgers on the grill, or perhaps 1 or 2 of the over 60 flavors of brats you can find at Bloomington Meats. You know your family will love their cut fresh daily product, and you will love the value. You can save money with a half or whole beef or hog for your freezer and be ready whenever that grilling urge hits you. Their monthly and other meat bundles also saves money and time, allowing you to stock up and be ready as well. Springtime school activities can make dinner time rushed. So pick up some barbecue, sliced brisket, or fresh lunch meat and cheese for a quick dinner option. You can also get chips, condiments, seasonings, marinades, bread, and all kinds of other products to complete that meal and to save money and time at 2401 Bunn Street. The best meat on Bunn Street. My choice is Bloomington Meats.
The left loonies can't cancel me, Mark Levin. Catch me on the only conservative station in Bloomington, Normal. Weekdays at 5 p.m. on Cities 92.9.
It's going to be about that ballot box. It's coming. June 28th is the primary. With the primary election ballot set and the election 9 weeks away, Republicans looking to challenge Governor J.B. Pritzker continue their criticism of incumbents' policies. Hey, it's Conservative Cat Cities 92.9 show weigh in. We're hitting a lot of local news today. Okay, Pritzker also faces a Democratic challenger. The Illinois State Board of Elections on this past Thursday, they approved the statewide primary ballot after hearing a variety of objections. There are 6 Republicans looking to get the party's nomination and take on Governor J.B. Pritzker in November. On crime, Jesse Sullivan said that he hears from local law enforcement and from law enforcement continued concerns about the Democrats' SAFE-T Act that includes, among other things, ending cash bail starting January 1st. That is true. And the SAFE-T Act, and we talked to Dennis Tipsword, who had a lot to say about the SAFE-T Act. If you missed that, you can go to Conservative Cat on cities929.com. Check out that interview. But this is what Sullivan told WMAY earlier in the week. Our law enforcement officers are sacrificing themselves every day around our state, and they deserve to be listened to, and they do not feel appreciated under this current administration. Now, on COVID, Pritzker said Thursday that he's appealed rulings against his mandates because he needs to retain such authority in future pandemics. State Senator Darren Bailey, and he's running against I'd say the front runner, and that's just according to polls, called Pritzker a tyrant for more than 2 years worth of unilateral COVID-19 orders and edicts. And this is what Bailey had said. And that's exactly what has destroyed economy, our life, our schools, and our police force. That's the attack that's on Illinois, the tyrannical government. Other Republicans on June 28th primary ballot include Aurora Mayor Richard Irvin, State Senator, former State Senator Paul Schimpf. He also had this really cool case in taking on terrorists, right? And he has an attorney background. Businessman Gary Rabine and Max Solomon. The main criticism Republicans have of this incumbent is crime. Crime is the biggest issue. Look at Chicago. I talked to you about Lori Lightfoot, the mayor of Chicago, coming out and saying that she doesn't have to answer a reporter when he asks her why is she running again. And this is on the ballot. Crime. There's a lot of money going out for violence intervention. But what about violence prevention? So Pritzker said this, that funding has been dispersed. There's more coming as well. And that's a very important way in which we are starting to interrupt violence and dealing with these challenges. Throwing money at the problem won't work, Jelly Bean. It never has, and it never will. Pritzker's primary challenger, a Democrat, Beverly Miles, is a Chicago area nurse and a U.S. Army veteran. She said more money may not work. This is what she has to say. The prison system is growing. The legal systems are growing. The funeral homes are growing. Everyone is making money off crime. So I truly do not believe the billionaires are really looking at combating crime. Yeah, she has a wonderful point, and I love it when Democrats come out and they start making some sense because it shows. And I love the two-party system. I know that's crazy. I love the two-party system, and here's why. It gives you a chance when it's used properly to utilize it and to get good candidates out there. It almost acts as a buffer of like, hey, we're not using it like all right, I'll just say Richard Irvin, right? It prevents somebody like a Richard Irvin getting to a point where they are running for a gubernatorial candidate. Clearly, our Illinois state gubernatorial GOP party does not have our best interest in mind, because they would not have accepted Richard Irvin with his voting record looking like it does. The party primary is June 28th for you guys. So show up to that ballot box. Hey, it's Conservative Cat Cities 92.9. All right, shifting gears here. State lawmakers, they're looking to make it easier for out-of-state mental health medical personnel to get licensed right here in Illinois with a bill that's ready to be sent to Governor J.B. Pritzker's desk. All right, now this is a Senate bill, Senate Bill 3617. It also suspends the requirements for social workers, professional counselors, and psychologists with licenses that have been inactive for 5 years. The measure, which passed both the Illinois House and Senate, also provides grants to help provide resources like beds for residential mental health treatment centers, public funds for grants that would be subject to state appropriation. Since 2020, mental health related issues are on the rise, especially among young people. When you have young people questioning whether or not they are an animal or a person, that's when you know we are in a mental health crisis. There's children who believe that they are animals instead of people, and we instead of cracking down on that, instead of giving them the help that they need, we are encouraging it. According to the CDC, mental health related visits are up 24% since 2020 for children 5 to 11, while visits for children ages 12 to 17 have gone up 31%. Why is that? Is it because we were so engraved into the media and looking at our computer screens and giving children the computer and letting them just go willy-nilly on it, and the media tells them that, hey, it's okay if you think you're an animal? Actually, we'll celebrate that and call it diversity. While the number of mental health related issues is increasing in Illinois, the number of healthcare professionals have drastically declined. You want to know why? Because they don't feel correct in pushing out this DEI bull. We are all in a behavioral health workforce crisis. This is what Laura Feeney, she's a Democrat, and she said this. Inpatient facilities will tell you that even though they have empty beds, they can't fill those beds because they don't have the qualified professionals to work with those patients. People are giving up in the state of Illinois. We see it here in the mental health industry, but we see it in every industry. Randy Wells, the vice president for the mental health policy at Illinois Alcohol and Drug Dependence Association, explained that this bill can do the help and give the help that mental health facilities need. I don't know about that. I don't think we're getting at the core issue. I think the core issue is public schooling. This is what Wells has to say. It talks about getting people into the workforce and expediting credentialing. No, what you're doing is you're limiting people, and you're lowering the standards in order to get these people into these places. The standards are already really low. That's why people are leaving. This is not an academic exercise. This gets to workforce issues at the community provider level. No. This is not getting at the issue of workforce. Why are they leaving? That question needs to be answered. Laura Feeney, a Democrat, she says that this is the time to start treating mental health issues with the same support and treatment that other illnesses garner. I don't think I think that people understand that mental health is very important. I think that we're there. I think that people who work in this type of industry aren't able to treat the mental illness as it is to be treated. This is how that she goes on. In Illinois, we want to be sure that mental health and physical health are viewed as one and the same, because you really cannot have one without the other. That is true. Your physical health depends. So stop transitioning kids as kindergartners. I'm working on this story. Northern teacher up in Oak Brook, her kindergartner is transitioning, and the kid doesn't want to. SB 3617 can now be sent to the governor. That's what's happening in the state of Illinois. Come back after the break. It's Conservative Cat on Cities 92.9, the news and talk of Bloomington Normal. And with me in studio, I have Tom Vygotsky, and he is running as the sheriff in Livingston County.
Correct.
All right. So, Tom, tell me a little bit about Livingston County politics. I've also got DPB in here, and David Paul Blumenshine. You can check out
I thought
his
you were
show
going to leave
tomorrow.
me out there for a second, Kat.
Yeah, you can check out his show tomorrow from Sunday 1 to 3, and that's the David Paul Blumenshine Show. And we kind of were talking in studio on Friday when we had you on for the Morning Buzz, and we were talking about Darren Bailey, Sangamon County, and we were talking about local politics and the corruption that is in every single county. And Livingston County came up because of the story that came out on Robin Baum. And Robin Baum is a police officer in Pontiac who was he had no charges filed yet as of right now, but he there was a Pontiac police called out to his home on a domestic disturbance between him and his child, and there weren't any charges filed as of yet. We're pre-recording this, so I don't know. We'll see, but no charges filed yet. But the Illinois State Police are going to conduct the investigation, and right away we were like, DPP told me about Tom Vigaski in Pontiac, who's running for Livingston County Sheriff. And I just kind of want to get a feel of this kind of story. You worked for the Illinois State Police, right, Tom?
Correct. I retired November 1st of 2021.
Yeah, and there's this comment on this WMBD article about you having something to do with this because for our listeners, if you don't know, and if you haven't been following this race, Tom Vigaski is going up against the brother of Robin Baum, and the brother's name is Ryan?
Correct.
Ryan Baum. And different, right? So Ryan Baum did not, it was not accused of this allegedly domestic disturbance, this incident, but Tom Vigaski is going up against the brother of the guy who did. So you're caught up now.
So there was a comment that was on another media outlet about this. I guess about
this story.
Okay.
And they're starting. There was a comment about Tom Vigaski having something to do with setting this up. What was that comment, Tom?
So in general, the comment was that someone should look at Ryan's opponent, and I assume they meant because I used to work for the state police, and the state police did the arrest. Mm-hmm. And my wife showed it to me. And
people connecting dots.
And it stated that I might have something to do with it to ruin the opponent's campaign. I have been retired from the state police since November 1st of 2021. From my understanding, the state police that arrested him was the patrol division, which is a completely different division from what I worked in. I worked in the investigations. I started out in patrol 15, 16 years ago.
No, you can speak to that. The ISP, when is it that they start to get involved? So the Pontiac police were actually called out to the incident.
From what I understand, correct. And then when they realized there was a conflict of interest for them because it was one of their employees, that's when they called the state police.
Mm. And you brought something up, obviously, because a big part of your career with the Illinois State Police Department or police force was an investigation mostly around drug.
Yes, I did about 8 years in the drug business, as I call it, narcotics undercover as an officer, and then I was promoted through sergeant and master sergeant as the task force commander down here in Bloomington.
Well, and Tom, I know you've been on my show before, and you can tune in Sunday from 1 to 3, a shameless plug there for myself. But you've been on my show, and we've talked about a little bit of what Kat was kind of alluding to. When I was on her show, it was actually Thursday morning for the Morning Buzz, that we were at a dinner in Sangamon County for the Sangamon County Lincoln Day dinner, and it just is so steeped with corruption. And we're talking about the party that not only I've run on the ballot for, but you are running on the ballot. It's the Republican Party. We're talking about the corruption within the state of Illinois, and it has permeated all levels of government. It has permeated all levels of everything. I don't know where corruption isn't part of. And when we look at different counties like Livingston, McLean, Ford, Iroquois, people say, well, they're pretty red counties. But when you start peeling back the layers, you start realizing, for those of us that are so righteous in our attitudes towards being a conservative Republican, we find there's a lot of house cleaning that we need to do on the Republican side of things. Do you find that too in Livingston County?
I find it that it's more based on the smaller the counties, the more it's based on the good old boy system, as I call it. This is the status quo. Let's keep it going. Let's not have any change, real needed change, and then that change never happens when the next person comes in. I know the former sheriff is probably going to endorse my opponent at this point, and to me, that's just the good old boy system to keep it going.
Well, and it is the establishment. Isn't that what we saw down there, Kat, in Sangamon County? I mean, you were there present, and it's very evident. I mean, when they had this dinner, they actually rolled out one of a it wasn't planned, I don't think. Oh, sure, no, it was planned.
Mm-hmm.
They put out one of the lieutenant governor candidates, and she actually got the mic during this dinner, and she wasn't on the program.
She wasn't on the it was absolutely bizarre, Tom. But I mean, that's what we're trying to get at here. So your platform, is it to get at this corruption? Tell me a little bit about your platform and your run for sheriff and how you plan to kind of get at the corruption that is county. I mean, Livingston County, it's red, like Republican. It's all Republican. And DPP was telling me these county board candidates, all of them are Republicans, but are they?
They're running as Republicans. There is one Democrat candidate, and I can't remember his name, for one of the districts. But and I've always looked at politics this way. Everybody should have term limits. And I believe even though the county board should have term limits, some of those guys have been on the board for 30, 40 years from what I've been told. And those are the guys that need to be voted out.
Which, Tom, you said it's the establishment.
Correct.
You cannot have, and that's why I call it corruption, because just because you come into office, most people, I believe, I want to be idealistic in a lot of ways towards, they came in with a good heart. They wanted to do the right thing.
I believe
and
that.
Unfortunately, the longer you're in politics, the longer you're involved in making decisions for money that really isn't your money, it's somebody else's money, that's where the corruption comes in. That's where you see the backdoor dealing, the conversations of, hey, you scratch my back, I'll scratch yours. We call it the establishment. I call it flat out corruption because it isn't about the people any longer. It's about the politics.
Mm-hmm.
So my platform is basically on three folds. The narcotics is the reason I started getting interested in running for sheriff approximately 3 years ago. It's just in Livingston County that it's never been combated the way it should be combated. So my philosophy is to get back into Task Force 6. The county was in it about 20, 25 years ago, I'm not sure, and they withdrew and started their own proactive unit, which has failed miserably in the last year. The three cities that were in it pulled out, Fairbury, Pontiac, and Dwight, and it's running on with 3 people right now. You can't run an undercover narcotics unit with 3 people.
Who oversees that, though?
The sheriff's department is the one that oversees that now. So the last sheriff, the last elected sheriff, was resigned recently, in I believe a month or so ago. I'm not sure the exact date. And then the chief deputy was appointed till the end of this term.
So they took that away from the state, basically.
20 years ago,
20 years ago, and they started running their own program. Did the numbers drop off, the convictions? How did that kind of
I'm not
roll
sure
out?
what the numbers were compared to what they were for state police in the task force up here. I know it was mostly, from what I was told, it was the state police fault because they didn't have the coverage they deserved up there. And when I approached the former sheriff to come back in, I promised him that I would have a dedicated 2 state police officers to run the unit up in this area, or up in Livingston County area.
I'm taking you off script. Sorry about that. I keep interjecting these questions because it's what the voters want to know.
Mm-hmm.
They want they want the most efficient government that we can get.
And this sheriff, like the sheriff's office, it all starts there, right? And yeah, go ahead.
So the other part of my platform is the budget that the sheriffs ran last year alone, because of a healthcare misstrued thing. It was from $350,000 to $500,000 over budget that the county board was on the hook for because of poor supervision and poor budgeting. The state's attorney of the county even said that at a board meeting that this is incompetence. There's no crime for incompetence and lack of supervision. That's what he said about the sheriff's department, about this $300,000 to $500,000. And then in February, when they have to reconcile the county budget, they moved for all the departments. They moved approximately, I was told, $800,000 to $900,000 to reconcile their budget for overruns for all the departments. So that would have been part of the sheriff's department, was that $350,000 to $500,000. I never did get a final figure of how much they overran. Jail issues inside about use of force. It was in there because they just don't do internal investigations when there is use of force inside the jail. Videos on my website prove that there's use of force issues, and it's never been investigated internally or externally. So accountability and transparency is what I'm going for in budgets and inside of that, and when it comes to use of force inside the jail or outside the jail. I'm very pro-police. Obviously, I have 26 years in law enforcement. I know that some of the people think that I think the department's corrupt. I don't think the department itself is corrupt. I think it was very poor supervision, very lackadaisical on the top side of the department. And I believe I'm the candidate that can correct that. I've been in leadership roles for the last 7-8 years of my career. I've been budgets anywhere from $200,000 to $500,000 over when I was acting lieutenant over 3 drug units. I know how to do the narcotics side. I've got 8 years experience on that. I know how to do regular investigations and homicides. I got 7 years in the homicide and violent crimes division before my narcotics.
I think something desperately needed in Pontiac. Now, it's a personal story, but my cousin, she had a hard time with drug addiction. And I'm actually from the Dwight area. I used to live in Dwight, and that area has gotten so bad. Livingston County, Dwight, Pontiac is so bad. And my cousin started out using drugs in Pontiac. Yeah. And it was just a story that a lot of people from my old high school that I graduated with, they move out a little bit from the Braidwood area originally. They move out from that Braidwood area originally. Yep. They go to Pontiac because that's where all the drugs are. Yep. And they get into the drugs, narcotics, and all of that. So that's something that I think Pontiac definitely needs.
And that's a direct function of the fact that it's along that 55 corridor, right, Tom?
Correct. They're not stopping. Like from Mexico, if you're getting cocaine or methamphetamines, which is a huge thing, they're not stopping in Livingston County. They're driving by it. I understand that. And they're getting it from going to Chicago. They're not dropping 20 kilos off in Livingston County. There's just not the demand for it. Mm-hmm. So what had happened is people in Livingston County that are the bigger dealers are either going to Chicago and picking up their half a key or kilo of cocaine or meth, whatever they're buying, or they're calling someone and someone's bringing it down for a charge.
Well, we're pushing up against a break, but we're going to come back. We're going to continue this conversation. And I never got to the point we had brought up Robin Baum, who was, involved in an incident as far as domestic incident goes. And we brought up this comment, but I don't think we ever hit on the fact that this comment about you facilitating the whole thing and how that is just not true. So we're going to talk about that police officer who was involved in that domestic incident and how they're kind of spinning it to be somehow Tom's fault. Next on Conservative Cat.
It's Tom's fault.
Tom's fault.
He and Putin. It is a great day here at Cities 92.9, the news and talk of Bloomington Normal. In studio with me is Carrie Najira from the Village at Mercy Creek. Carrie, tell us a little bit about your experience with Cities 92.9.
Cities 92.9 is a big part of the community in Central Illinois, and that's what we're about. We want to be a part of the community, and cities listen to us and the message that we want to put out there. They came back with their proposal, and I was so impressed. All I said was, when can we start?
I wanna ride, I wanna go and see friendly faces I know.
You already know how easy it is to ride a Connect Transit bus.
Now paying for your ride just got easier when you download their new mobile ticketing app.
Why carry cash when you can purchase your bus pass with their new ticketing app?
The free ticketing app is available on Apple and Android. Just search Connect Transit Ticketing inside your app store today.
Ride us on the web at connect-transit.com.
Hi, we're the Goo Goo Dolls. We're fortunate that we can give our daughters everything they need to grow and learn. But not every child can focus on classes and play dates.
Nearly 13 million kids in the U.S. face hunger. That's 1 in 6. School lunch might be their only meal each day, and it's heartbreaking to imagine any child going to bed hungry. We're dreaming of a perfect day when kids can smile, play, and just be kids without worrying about where their next meal will come from. Feeding America is working to make that perfect day a reality.
Each year, the Feeding America network of food banks rescues billions of pounds of good food that would have gone to waste. That food is given to families and children in need. Being a kid should be about doing things that make an ordinary day extraordinary. Learning to play an instrument, building a sandcastle, hosting tea parties. Hunger should never be an obstacle to growing up.
You can help end childhood hunger in your community by visiting feedingamerica.org.
Brought to you by Feeding America and the Ad Council.
Hey
there, City's Night Owls. Stay up with Ben Shapiro. He's got the wit, the patriotism, and will do anything to defang the far left. You don't want to miss Ben Shapiro weeknights at 11 p.m. on Cities 92.9.
It's Conservative Cat on Cities 92.9, the news and talk of Bloomington Normal. And we have Tom Vigaski here, and he is running for Livingston County Sheriff. One of the most important positions, I think, on the ballot this June 28th primary. He's being primaried. The guy, his name is Ryan Baum. Haven't gotten a chance to talk to him about his platform. I'm talking to Tom Vigaski right now about him and his platform. And I actually came across this story about WMBD about and I thought at first Robin Baum was the guy who was running for county sheriff. It's not. It's his brother. His brother, Ryan Baum, is running for county sheriff in Livingston. And Robin Baum was arrested by the Illinois State Police after the Pontiac police were called out to his home on Diller Street on Sunday. And now this incident that was reported, it was a domestic incident between Baum and his child, who is a minor. And the parties were separated when the police arrived at the scene, and they had kind of taken over the investigation, Illinois State Police. That led to this kind of bizarre comment. And I kind of wanted to ask Tom about it was it on social media, on the article?
I believe my wife showed it to me. I believe it was on either another post or a shared post about that article from the other radio or TV station.
Mm-hmm.
It said
we promote WMBD
they're
around
not
here.
woke liberals.
They're actually an affiliate. They do our weather for us.
Yeah, we love WMBD.
So the roundabout comment was something that I might have had something to do with it because I was a former state police employee. And I just want to adamantly die. I had nothing to do with this. I didn't find out about anything that happened until like late Sunday night after it happened. And the only facts I know about the case is what's on that report from WMBD.
So I know. What do you have a comment on it? Like
I'm not going to comment on my opponent's brother. If my opponent wants to comment on it, he can. But I want to stay out of it. I'm not trying to run that kind of campaign to use the family.
And good for you, Tom, because that was something else that got brought up at this Sangamon County dinner. Don Tracy, the head of the Republican Party of the state of Illinois, came out and said that thing that needs to be said.
Don't speak ill of another Republican.
And it doesn't matter whether
we probably should have mentioned that Tom Vigaski, he is running as a Republican.
Yeah,
correct.
Well, yeah.
That goes without saying.
Usually it does here because we try to get Democrats to come on our program. You know, we even tried to get gubernatorial candidate Richard Irvin to come on my show, your show, Kat. For some reason, he doesn't come on. So I guess the conclusion we draw is Democrats just don't come on our shows. I'm sorry. Yeah.
Does he drive this far south?
Well, he doesn't go anywhere because upcoming here on Monday.
He wasn't even in Sangamon County.
No, he was not in Sangamon County. But
all of the other gubernatorial candidates were there. I mean, most of them, right? Sullivan, Bailey.
So on the 25th of April, which is Monday, in Tazewell County at the Washington, I'll get the specifics on it. There is a forum. All gubernatorial candidates, Max Solomon, Paul Schimpf, Gary Rabine, Darren Bailey, Jesse Sullivan. I almost left out Jesse. Sorry, Jesse. Are going to be there for this forum where the public, the voters, they're anticipating over 700 people gathering for this forum. That's what they've already have in reservations. Mm-hmm. So get out there. We'll put it up on our Facebook
Tom, you better
page.
be out there. Are you going to be there, Tom?
Well, Tom's not going to be there.
I will not be there because I have my own
district. That's right. He's got things to do. But the only lone candidate not participating is Richard Irvin. But good for you, Tom, for taking the high road and saying, you know what? This is obviously something that the Baum family has to deal with. Will it impact Ryan as the sheriff's candidate? Of course it does. Because we see that in our lives as public officials or candidates for public office. Mm-hmm. That anything that we do, we're under a special microscope. Believe me, I know that having run for state representative twice and town council. Anything you do or say will be held against you.
Correct.
Yeah.
And they will mine, they will do whatever they can So once again,
He didn't even say anything, and then they were trying to say that he had something to
That's-
do with it
that's-
by de facto because he worked for the Illinois State
The only
Police
time
that
I
he's
ever
retired from.
The only time I ever comment on anything is when someone messages me on my Facebook for sheriff page
Mhm.
and asks a specific question. If I know the answer, I'll answer it. If I don't, I'll look it up and get back to them as soon as I can. But I don't comment. I try not to comment on anybody else's comments or opinions.
Mhm.
And there's been a lot of posts over the past 6 months about the sheriff's race, even
Yeah.
before my opponent was declared.
It's contested, huh?
Yeah.
So
It's very,
you
very,
were
very
you were
hot.
mentioning obviously the inner workings of the current sheriff's department.
Correct.
When you step into office, knowing, and I'm going to use your word, establishment has created these layers and layers of misappropriations, layers of policies and procedures. You're going to probably have a big task in front of you.
Yes, my assumption is it will take me probably 6 months to the year once I do take office to review everything, get through everything that's been, from what I've been told from deputies themselves, that has been messed up for the last 2 elected sheriff's cycles.
How has that affected the morale around the Livingston County Sheriff's Department? I mean, are they short on staff? I mean, how are
I know they
things
have a
playing
big
out?
turnover rate in the jail. I'm not sure what their turnover rate is on the deputy and the officers, the patrol side of it. I know they're 1 or 2 officers short on each side the last I checked, but I'm not sure what their maximum facility is. My philosophy is to get the 3 guys that are assigned to the proactive unit, put 2 of them in Task Force 6, along with the chief of the police, and work to rebuild the relationships with them. So they put officers in Task Force 6 and have our own squad for that the state police run. The reason we do that is because the state police indemnify them. They insure them. If they get in trouble, the attorney general defends them instead of the sheriff's department or anybody else having the liability for it. But we pay for, or the state police task force pays for everything except for their salaries, which you're paying for anyway as a sheriff or as a chief. So why not let the state police have all the evidence, let them handle it. They pay for the gas, they pay for the cars, and all this is done by drug asset forfeiture money. It's not done by taxpayer money. The only thing taxpayers pay for is officers' salaries, which we do anyway. So it's a self-sufficient program that's run by drug dealers' money and what we seize and sell. And that's the whole reason for asset forfeiture.
Well, and that in of itself is impressive.
No,
Go ahead. Kat.
Why? The thing that keeps mulling in my head: why in the world would they eliminate that kind of program?
And from what I understand, and some of the older state guys that I talked to that were there, they did not, since Bloomington Normal was such a big area and such a drug problem, they concentrated down here more than they did in Livingston County because there was 2 squads basically at that time. And I agree, if the state police didn't do what they're supposed to do and make sure they got the coverage they needed up in Livingston County, then the county should have pulled out. But after 20 years of what I call unsuccessful drug deterrence business, and I think it's time we go back.
It's a hub. It's a hub.
Yeah.
So Bloomington Normal, you just mentioned the great Twin Cities here, the Cities 92.9. If you're just joining us, we have Tom Vygotsky in studio with us. Tom is running for Livingston County Sheriff on June 28th. Definitely take a look in his social media page. We're going to give him an opportunity to promote his run here in a second. But Bloomington Normal as a hub for drug enforcement. Is that, and once again, I always try to loop it into the interstate system because of the drug trafficking itself, but isn't there also an influx in Bloomington Normal of the criminal element coming down from the Cook County area?
Correct. As long as they're keep doing different housing stuff and forcing people out of the city that are in those mega structures they used to have back in the day, and then Daley got rid of them. That's when it started people started fluxing out to the bigger cities downstate.
Yeah, so that old myth we used to be told, that was a very non-politically correct thing to say, that the urban redevelopment or the urban sprawl or the truncating or the restoration of the inner city, where they got rid of public housing. Well, in public housing, if you're getting a benefit of public housing from the state of Illinois or from a county, you can get that in any county, and your state benefits still can apply. So if you don't want to live in a densely populated city and you can find maybe a smaller city with, a lot less population that still affords you the ability to have housing, why wouldn't you set up shop there?
Yeah.
Yeah, and you got new clientele.
And you got new clientele.
And you got new clientele. Yeah, exactly. And Tom, I want to get to your run and just tell us a little bit about why you decided running and a little bit about your background.
Background-wise, I have 26 years plus in law enforcement. I started out with the Department of Corrections for the state. I did eight and a half years there between Pontiac Correctional Center, Sheridan Correctional Center, and then I was promoted to parole agent for 4 years, where I worked through Kankakee and Livingston County areas, Ford County, all that area. I went to the state police. I became a trooper in District 6, which covers this area, DeWitt, McLean, and Livingston County. And then in, I believe it was 2007, I was promoted to special agent, which is the state police detectives area. I commuted up to Joliet, South Chicago area, worked violent crimes up there for about 7 years. And then I came back down here to do some training for violent crimes down in this area for the younger agents because of my experience up there. And then after about a year of that, I transferred over to the narcotics division I was an undercover police officer for Task Force 6 here in Bloomington. Through that, I worked my way up to field supervisor, which is our sergeant, task force commander, which is our master sergeant level. I was the commander for about 3.5 years. And then right before I retired in November, about 6-7 months, I was the acting lieutenant over 3 narcotics units in I call it the central east side of the state. We covered 13 counties.
I don't know if you get this, but thank you a lot. I appreciate it. Thanks a lot for doing what you do, and you have dedicated your entire life to service, and we back the blue.
Yeah, and now you're going to venture into a county race and to become the county sheriff.
And he's going to serve.
That's right.
In the political sphere.
What did you see, Tom? Obviously, you're a resident of Livingston County.
Correct.
That prompted you to go into the fray of taking on the head law enforcement
So I started looking into it about 3 years ago as Task Force 6 commander when I wanted to expand back into Livingston County, and I ran into some roadblocks with the sheriff's department. I looked into it more and more. Then I found out these financial errors. I like to call them financial errors, or unsupervised stuff that should have been looked into and stopped. And it's not the officers, it's not the deputies' fault, it's the supervision's fault. The buck stops at the top, and that's where it should stop. Years of not getting them trained. For instance, in the jail, it should be de-escalation training, not escalate a situation. Then you won't have the use of force you do. And even if you do, I can't stop use of force, excessive use of force issues, but if they do happen, either have your internal investigations do an investigation into it and see if it was good or bad, or have the state police come in and do it. I've done, I believe, 2 investigations into the jail when I was in regular crimes down here, and I've done several in different jails, not just this specific one. And some you exonerate the officers, and some you just don't. It's sad, but it's what it is.
Transparency. That's a great concept to try to truly give the public, who obviously it's taxpayer funded, right? The county sheriff's office is giving the taxpayers a bird's eye view of how law enforcement is handled. Because ultimately, at the end of the day, we all want to live in safe communities.
Correct. Yes. And I believe everybody really wants to know what goes on. So if there, in instance it does happen, you investigate it, you keep it closed, whether it's with the state police or whether it's an internal investigation. But once the findings are found, good or bad, the public should know.
That's right.
And that's where it's not happening where it is.
Kat, how are we doing on time here?
We're pushing up against a break. So, Tom Vigaski, he's running as the Livingston County Sheriff. So, Tom, how do we find out more about you and about your background and about your run?
So I have a Facebook page. It's Vigaski, the number 4 Sheriff. It has my background on it. It has different posts that I found and stuff that I've uncovered throughout the 6 months to 9 months I've been running. And if you have questions, you can message me on there. You can private message me on there. If you don't want to do it in public, I can answer your questions in private. Or if you want to post a comment on one of my posts, if I can answer it, I'll answer it. If not, I'll investigate in it and find out what the answer is for you.
This is exciting. And just seeking answers and seeking answers for your constituents. That's what that's all public service is
Any
about.
big events coming up for you? You guys going head to head in a forum or a debate?
Right now, my campaign manager talked to his several weeks ago, and they do not feel they needed a debate, so he won't do a public debate. Monday, I have...
Whoa. The opponent said no debate?
No public debate, correct.
Oh.
Well, interesting. Interesting. Well, you know what? Maybe we'll reach out to both of you guys and see if we could get a statement from Ryan and
I would love to have you both then.
and have a virtual debate. Maybe if he doesn't want to sit in a actual forum, we'd love to get him in studio. Kat, we got to reach out to Ryan and
I'll reach out to
make
Ryan.
sure that he gets an opportunity to
I'm
come
more
in
than happy.
studio.
I originally wanted one in the three big cities, north, central, and south of the county, so everybody has a chance to attend. And he wouldn't even agree to one from what his manager told us.
Well, we know we have plenty of listeners up in the Pontiac, Livingston County
Yes,
area.
shout out to you guys. I love Pontiac.
Yes, we think it's a great community. We go up there. Shout out to my friend Scott at A Cup and a Scone. He always is very hospitable with hosting different events for us down here in Bloomington Normal when we're up that way. So,
If I could, I just wanted to thank my campaign manager, Al Lindsay. He is a former sheriff of Livingston County, a former chief of Pontiac Police, and a former...
The news you need, the news you want. This is Cities 92.9. WRPW, Colfax, Bloomington Normal. It's 6 o'clock.
Still pounding Ukraine. I'm Joe Chiro, Fox News. Russian forces are attacking the last holdout in Mariupol, a steel plant. Fox's Trey Yanks is in Kyiv with the latest.
Mariupol, that besieged port city where more than 1,000 Ukrainian soldiers and civilians are currently underneath a steel plant in nuclear bunkers, and they're totally cut off from the rest of the world. But it's not just Mariupol. Odessa is seeing missile strikes killing at least 5 people, according to local reports. Renewed shelling in the second largest city, Kharkiv, in Ukraine.
Meanwhile, Ukrainian President Zelensky says he will meet with U.S. Secretary of State Blinken and Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin tomorrow in Kyiv. The visit has not been confirmed by the White House. Top of the list, he says, will be military aid to Ukraine. Recovery efforts continue for the body of a Texas National Guard soldier who dove into the Rio Grande River to save 2 migrants. Texas Department of Public Safety Lieutenant Christopher Oliveras.
That's just a true example of bravery and courage by going into that river, that dangerous river, and trying to rescue several immigrants that were distressed.
Texas officials say the 2 migrants who survived were involved in drug smuggling at the time and are in custody. Crews continue to battle an Arizona wildfire that's burned more than 2,000 acres and 30 homes near Flagstaff. Fox Weather's Max Gordon is in Flagstaff.
All week long, firefighters have been battling these high winds. And these winds have been fueling the flames. It's been their biggest challenge. Now, the tunnel fire was first reported Sunday afternoon. It initially appeared to be under control, but by Tuesday, the wind fanned the flames and the fire jumped containment lines. It's now day 7 of the tunnel fire. There are 371 firefighters on scene, according to the Coconino National Forest.
Officials say 2 wildfires in rural northern New Mexico have merged while quadrupling in size since Thursday morning. America is listening to Fox News.
Quickly did you become scared out of your wits? I mean, were you frightened immediately or just kind of, this is curious?
I was not frightened immediately. First of all, my brother stood up and thought it was a joke and said, we didn't do it thinking that this was a prank that Edward might have pulled on us because this stuff didn't happen where we grew up.
Fox News Podcasts, Nightmare in Chowchilla. 26 children vanished. The shocking story behind the largest abduction in U.S. history. Nightmare in Chowchilla. Listen now at foxnewspodcasts.com.
Well, they say there are certain things that shouldn't be brought up at the kitchen table, but not here at the Duffys. So pull up a chair and join me, Rachel Campos Duffy.
And me, former U.S. Congressman Sean Duffy, as we share our perspective on the discussions happening at kitchen tables across America.
And we're going to share some real-life solutions as well to the everyday issues that you all talk about. And we're going to talk about some of those things that we agree on.
And some that we don't.
Download From the Kitchen Table, the Duffys at foxnewspodcasts.com or wherever you download podcasts.
Finland is considering joining NATO after what happened to Ukraine, but Russia's warning them not to. Acting U.S. Ambassador to Finland, Ian Campbell.
The Finnish Parliament has just started taking that question up now. They've finished their public session and have gone into a closed-door session where the Foreign Affairs Committee is going to coordinate the response to the report that the government put out. on the security situation.
Campbell says the Finnish people are 65% in favor of joining NATO, but believes the number could jump higher if the government supports it. A bloody Friday night in Philadelphia.
At least 5 people were shot overnight. One of them has died, and a 17-year-old girl has been stabbed in the city of brotherly love. A violent start to the weekend. 2 of the victims shot at one location as a fight breaks out on a youth field. A man shot in the head while walking along a street. Another man shot in the neck and back along another street. The final shooting victim was shot in both legs, and police say the girl was stabbed multiple times. Gary Baumgarten, Fox News.
In Tennessee, drunk drivers who kill a parent could soon be required to pay child support.
Tennessee lawmakers passed a bill Wednesday that's expected to soon be signed into law by Governor Bill Lee that would require drunk drivers to pay child support if they kill a parent and are convicted. The law named in part after the children of a Chattanooga police officer who was struck and killed in 2019 by a woman who was driving while drunk. Under the law, child support payments would be made until each child reached the age of 18 and completed high school. The National Highway Traffic Safety Administration reports that every day about 28 people die in drunk driving crashes in the U.S. Jeff Manasso, Fox News.
And I'm Joe Chiro, Fox News.
Cities 92.9's dependable weather from WMBD.
Highs near 72 for today with showers and thunderstorms as a cold front pushes through, especially areas east of the Illinois River. 1 or 2 storms could be on the strong side. WMBD meteorologist Adam Sherwinski.
Weather from Summers Plumbing, Heating, and Cooling.
Summers Plumbing, Heating, and Cooling. We take pride in your comfort. Just call Summers. Summers.
When you're dealing with a broken appliance, you don't have time to scour the internet for the best deals. Sherman's electronic price tags save you all that hassle and do the work for you. At any given minute, our price tags are crawling the box stores and getting you the lowest price automatically. So the next time you're facing the breakdown burden of a broken appliance, save some time and just come into Sherman's. No need to research and no need to haggle. Just automatically get the lowest appliance prices, period.
I like it.
Built upon a solid foundation of cast iron and steel, the Kubota L-Series is part of our under 100 horsepower tractor lineup rated #1 for reliability. They feature powerful Kubota diesel engines and easy operation. The durable Kubota L-Series. Talk to your local Kubota dealer today to schedule a demo. Go to KubotaUSA.com for full disclaimer.
Nord Outdoor Power, located at 1716 East Hamilton Road in Bloomington, or online at nordpower.com.
You know, every 3 seconds there is a new victim of identity theft. A criminal could be applying for loans in your name, selling your personal information on the dark web. Now, protecting your identity can be very easy thanks to LifeLock by Norton. No one company can prevent all identity theft or monitor every transaction of every business, but LifeLock, it's simple and easy to protect yourself, and you'll save up to 25% off your first year when you go to LifeLock.com or call 1-800-LifeLock. Just use the promo code Hannity.
Hi, this is Joe Cordell with the law firm Cordell & Cordell. Divorce can be complicated, especially if children are involved. If you're a father and want to protect your role in your children's lives, remember Cordell & Cordell. We've helped men with matters like these for 30 years, and we'd love to help you.
Contact Cordell & Cordell to schedule an appointment with one of our firm's Springfield area attorneys, a partner men can count on. 2815 Old Jacksonville Road, Suite 103, Springfield, Illinois, 62704. Online at CordellCordell.com.
The news and talk of Bloomington Normal, Cities 92.9.
It's Conservative Cat on Cities 92.9, the news and talk of Bloomington Normal. And with me, I have Kyle Him, and he's running in the state legislative district of 105th. It's the 105th district. Now, this is a pretty huge district, right, Kyle?
It's a big district. I think by landmass, it's one of the largest in the state. It covers a big swath of central Illinois.
Yeah, and I don't know, how are you going to campaign this district? I think that is going to be the hardest thing. Up against you are 3 other contenders.
Right.
Dennis Tipsword, Don Raints, and who's
Mike Kirkton.
Mike Kirkton. That's it.
Yep.
So there's a lot in this
Yep.
district who are running, which is a good sign.
Right.
And people are wanting to get involved, and I think it's the nature of the way our state legislators were running things in Springfield via the COVID-19 mandates and everything like that. But how are you planning to campaign this large district?
Well, I think I'm a former small town mayor, so I grew up in a small town, and there's lots of small towns in this district, and people want to see their elected officials. They want them to show up, and so really just trying to be at everything you can be, whether it's a pork chop dinner or pancakes. You try to be there. You try to listen. A lot of the issues are the same across the district as far as safety and economic development. A lot of these small communities are shrinking because people are leaving Illinois, so they're trying to figure out ways to stay viable. So I think just being present is part of the challenge, but something I'm committed to make sure I get all across the district.
And you put some emphasis on that word listen. So our state legislators currently, Republicans, Democrats, what do you think about the actual listenership of our state? Are they listening to the constituents as it stands right now?
No.
And what are they not listening to?
And one of the main things I'm running on and talk about is I'm going to Springfield to represent the people. It's not for me. I think politicians today have lost the fact that somehow they're entitled to be there, and we need to be going down there to represent the people. And so I don't make bones about that I'm going at the will of the people. I'm going to serve the people, and I'm going to vote the way that this district wants me to vote.
I'm kind of curious. What do you think about, I think, I don't know the exact number, but we're one of the top states who pay our legislators pretty well in comparison to other states. What do you think about that? And recently, this budget, I think that they got bonus checks or a raise of some kind. I think it was like $2,000 or something like that in this long budget, which I'm sure you know is just loaded with all kinds of stuff.
Well, I'm in business, and every year we give bonuses, we give raises if we met the goals we set out to that year. And Illinois continuously does not have balanced budgets. They overspend, yet they still pay themselves. You wouldn't do that in your own household where you would overspend and then just keep spending if you can't have the revenue to come in. And so I think it's kind of disgraceful, this idea that they continue to raise themselves. Take, for example, Texas. I think Texas legislature comes in every 2 years to pass a 2-year budget, and then they go home. They're not paid nearly a fraction of what Illinois lawmakers are paying to sit in Springfield and continue to put bad legislation before them. So there are examples around the country of states that do it better, that pay them, actually treat them like a service, not just a job. Being a legislator should never be your full-time job.
So you mentioned you were in business. What kind of provoked you into this run? Was it operating a small business during COVID-19? Or what kind of business do you have?
I'm with a company called ELM. We're based in Peoria. We're the second largest utility locating firm in the country. So we have about 1,300 employees. We're in 30 states. We also manufacture microgrids in Dallas, Texas. So what I think I bring is a fiscal responsibility and understanding of how to do the checks and balances, budgeting. But for me, I don't need to be a legislator. I really didn't desire to be a legislator. I tell people January 1, I woke up, I didn't think, man, I'm going to be a state legislator. But I've had this increasing frustration built up over years of where the state's gone. I think a lot of it has to do with the COVID mandates, the lockdowns, what I saw happen to small businesses. I mean, friends of mine's businesses that completely shut down because they couldn't open, yet the big box operations were all open, and it just completely decimated small business. And so that frustration built. I have a 10-year-old, and just seeing where the state's going, I said, I need to do something. I'm not going to be a legislator to go down and push the yellow or the red and green buttons, yes or no, and come back to the district. I'm actually going to call bad policy out, bad spending out, and hold them accountable, and say the things that a lot of people want to say that don't say, and not worry about whether I get reelected, because somebody has to go down and fight for this state.
What's an example of something that you want to say that people aren't saying right now?
Well, it depends on the issue, but I think just pure stupidity on the part of our state legislators that look at, for example, the Safety Act, a bill that was introduced to be sort of safety for our communities, but actually 90% of it is taking away rights and responsibilities from our law enforcement officers. It's hamstringing them. So that's just stupid. What are we doing? You know, we swung this balance of being defund the police, which never made sense to me. But now we're seeing the pendulum swing back because people are waking up to the fact that crime is exploding. Things are unsafe, unlike ever before. So that's one issue. I think the idea that Springfield thinks that they're balancing their budget this year is a joke. The only reason the state has done anything remotely to balance their budget is because they got this big windfall of COVID cash. If it wasn't for that COVID cash, we'd still be very broke, beyond broke, bad credit rating. And I was listening to you on the way in, the idea that our credit rating went up, well, we can only go up. We're at junk status. We're at the bottom.
Yeah.
So we can only climb up.
Only climb up.
But we're still at the very bottom, which cost us millions of dollars in bonding and borrowing. So it's all smoke and mirrors. And
Yeah, we've gone from what was it, a BAA2 rating, and that's like the bottom of the barrel, and then you go up to a BAA1. Now the top, I think, is AAA,
Right.
like a AAA rating.
Absolutely.
And it's just not. How could they continue to tout these things? And even this tax relief thing, right? The $1.8 billion that they allotted for tax relief, and it's like that's going to end in 6 months, and they're touting it now because of the elections. And you mentioned that you were in a business, and it sounds very successful. That's exciting. Why do you stay in Illinois? Well, you're obviously in other states, but why continue to work here in Illinois?
So a very good friend of mine who's been involved in politics for a very long time, when I said I was going to run, he said, why? Why would you do this? Like, the state's in shambles. You're in the super minority. Like, what do you think you're going to do? And I said, you know what? You're right. We should just all leave. And he's looked at me kind of like I was crazy. And I'm like, what's the alternative? The alternative is leave. And that's what 100,000 people have done the last 7 years in the state of Illinois. The size of Bloomington Normal has left every year. It's despicable. And, you know, my family came here in the 1860s to Central Illinois. They landed here, many generations of farm family. And it would be very easy just to say, let's leave. But I think Illinois is worth fighting for. My family's still here. My parents, farmland's here. We shouldn't give up. We should fight. And that's why I'm doing it. Because leaving is the easy route out.
Yeah. So I do want to ask, what kind of difference what kind of difference would you bring rather than a Mike Curtin, a Dennis Tipford, or your opponents? What would make me want to vote for you over them in the primary that's going to be June 28th? And we're talking with Kyle Hamm. He's running as a state legislative representative in the 105th district. And that's a big, big district. Most likely you're in it. And it encompasses a lot of rural areas, McLean County. But what do you bring different to the table?
I think I have a very diverse background. In the 25 years that I've been since college, they kind of fall into a couple buckets. One is I'm a businessman. I understand fiscal responsibility. I know how to make payroll and how to create jobs from a business perspective.
You're not a quitter because you could just stop. You've got other businesses in other states. You could just stop altogether and just move out of here. But I find that very interesting and admirable. Like, wow, you have an out.
Right.
Some of us don't have that out because we haven't built ourselves up to that point yet, or maybe we do something differently, or maybe we're not in business, and it's just like, for me, it's family, right? And my job is here, and I like this job, and I don't want to leave this job. But it's admirable that you're willing to fight.
Well, we came here about 7 years ago and fell in love with the community. My wife's a nurse and absolutely loves her work. I have a 10-year-old who's here, who loves school here and has friends, and we raised our 20-year-old who's now a United States Marine stationed in Japan. So we've fallen in love with this community, and we feel like we should continually try to give back. And so the things that I think that differentiate me are my business background, the fiscal responsibility to understand all those things, economic development. So I've spent 2 different tenures in economic development, one in Peoria, one in here. I was the CEO of the Bloomington Normal Economic Development Council. When I first started that job, 3 months after I started, Mitsubishi closed. And so I was asked by the community, our community leaders, to chair a task force to help find a new user for that plant. We spent about 8 months traveling the world, talking to every automaker out there, and it just wasn't the right time. And we stumbled upon a company called Rivian. At the time, I think Rivian had about 200 employees nationally, and they were a startup. But we spent 8 months with them doing their due diligence. We looked at their investors. We looked at their executive officers. And ultimately, I believe that they had something. And if you've ever had a chance to talk to RJ Scarin, she's probably one of the smartest guys you'll ever meet. He just has a vision for what they're going to do with Rivian. Fast forward now, they're way over 5,000 employees here. I mean, we have a kind of an economic boom right now in Bloomington Normal with, housing and other things. So I think economic development is what gets us out of these challenges we're in, and I understand that. I know how to do transactions and deals, and I want to be an advocate for Central Illinois. I want to recruit more opportunities to Central Illinois. So, business responsibility, economic development, and then public service. As I said, I was a small town mayor. I understand at that very grassroots level what it's like to deal with day-to-day challenges, constituent services. I was chief of staff to State Treasurer Dan Rutherford for 4 years, so I understand how Springfield operates. I don't have to learn on the job. I know how to navigate Springfield for both sides of the aisle. And so I think a very diverse background is what I bring to the table.
All right. Well, we're pushing up against a break. We're going to come back because I have a question about Rivian, and I kind of feel like you've built it up, and you were a part of the Economic Development Committee here in McLean County, and you were here locally, and you got this Rivian to come here. But I kind of am curious on if Rivian is going to stay and what it would mean if you became a state legislator. All right, it's Conservative Cat. Come back after the break.
Cities 92.9's dependable weather from WMBD.
Highs near 72 for today with showers and thunderstorms as a cold front pushes through, especially areas east of the Illinois River. 1 or 2 storms could be on the strong side. WMBD meteorologist Adam Sherwinski.
You're never more than 20 minutes away from the latest Central Illinois weather forecast, guaranteed. Rain, shine, or snow, it's your dependable weather on Cities 92.9.
I want the name of my business out there so it's on people's minds if they have car trouble.
That's Connie Whitty with T-Board Auto Repair on why she advertises. And why do you advertise with Great Plains Media?
I feel like you care about my business as much as I do.
What would you tell a business owner looking to grow their business?
I would think that advertising with Great Plains Media would be to their benefit, that they can pick and choose who they wanted to advertise with according to the demographic they wanted to reach.
Start growing your business at GreatPlainsMedia.com.
This is a St. Jude moment.
Ashton was a high-level athlete, and in an instant, your world flips. And your healthy 5-year-old competitive cheerleader has a brain tumor. And the physician was like, your best option is St. Jude. Receiving treatment that was life-saving for our child and knowing that that treatment would be of no cost to us was a huge weight lifted.
Learn more at stjude.org.
By texting 64,000, you agree to receive recurring automated marketing messages from Babbel. Message and data rates may apply. No purchase required. Terms apply. Available at babbel.com/TNC.
I always wanted to learn Spanish, but I never thought I'd have the time. Then I discovered Babbel.
Babbel's lessons are fun. They only take like 10 or 15 minutes, and in 3 weeks, you're speaking another language.
Babbel's lessons are voiced by native speakers, so you get the pronunciation just right. If you want to learn a language, there's no better way than
Babbel. Text radio to 64,000 to try Babbel for free. Text radio to 64,000.
Dan Bongino is giving you the bigger picture when it comes to Russia invading Ukraine.
Everything the Biden administration says about petrochemicals is a lie.
Dan Bongino, weekdays at 11 on Cities 92.9.
It's Conservative Cat on Cities 92.9, the news and talk of Bloomington Normal. Kyle Hamm joins me in studio. He's running for the state legislative district. It's 105. That's a big, big district. So most likely you're in it. Go to the McLean County Republican site at McLeanCountyRepublicans.org, I believe. And you can click on maps and you can look at your district and see if you land in there, if your house lands in there. Kyle, thank you so much for coming on.
Thanks for having me.
It's so nice to, talk to all of these candidates and get to know them and their personalities. And it's so nice to know people who have been in this community, because I've only been here a couple of years because of school and things like that. I just stayed and we were talking about that. And you have been a pretty big influencer here in McLean County. You were on the Economic Development Committee who searched for Rivian to come here. And that's what we were talking about before we cut to break. And I wanted to ask, So the CEO came out about the lithium battery thing, said that
Yep.
there was a shortage of that, and then it's been kind of viable or volatile with the stocks in Rivian. And I don't know if it's just the nature of the business, or do you think that they'll stay here in the state? And is that kind of in your gut where you want to go run to be a state legislator to kind of keep all of the hard work that you did on the Economic Development Committee?
Yeah, I'll just flat out say it, and I don't have privy to inside information, but Rivian's not going anywhere. I mean, the amount of investment that they're putting in out there, I mean, we're talking probably a couple $2 billion in infrastructure. There's a 500,000 square foot building that's going up right now. Addition to that building, they announced another $30 million building they're building for storage. So I've toured the plant. I've been through the plant. I've seen what they've put into it, the amount of investment on the presses and the robotics. You're not moving that stuff. It's not leaving. You would not invest that amount of money. And I think that's what is key, is when something of that magnitude lands in your community, it's not exportable. I mean, Rivian is going through the same challenges every business is going through right now, whether it's agriculture, whether it's manufacturing. Everyone is struggling with logistics. They're struggling with inflation, cost, access. The war in Ukraine, you wouldn't believe the amount of effect that has on the world economy, particularly agriculture. But the supply chains are disrupted. And so I think they're built to last. They have the investment to last. They've got the right investors to last. And I think they've got the right leadership to last. So I have no concern they're going anywhere. Tesla took 10 years to really kind of make their mark, and look where they're at today.
I think we do get caught up in this, like comparing Tesla to Rivian, and they're very different models, right? Because Rivian just does trucks right now, and they got to flesh things
even
out.
Elon a few weeks ago came out in sort of defense of Rivian, said that manufacturing vehicles is hard. It's really hard, but they're doing it. The news in the last few weeks is that they're going to make their production numbers. So I think there's been some very positive silver lining. We live in this hypersensitive world where we want to just jump on every bit of bad news or change. And that's business. Everything's not roses every day. Sometimes there's going to be challenges, headwinds, but they're built to last. They're not going anywhere. They're the second largest employer now in McLean County. I mean, literally happened overnight. So I'm very confident in what they're doing. But I think that's the example in the state, not just for our district, but for the entire state, of what can happen when people come together and try to work together. I remember that effort. It wasn't just Republicans. It was Democrats and Republicans talking about incentivizing, helping. I worked with the Democrat governor at the time to do that. So when people put their politics aside and put the people and the communities first, good things can happen.
Now, we're talking about Democrat governors, and this is kind of a great side.
Yeah.
We're going to shift gears because we were talking about it a little off air, and we were talking about Richard Irvin. So you have a few people in this district running against you.
Yes.
We talked about the differences that you would bring to the table. In other words, the things that I have seen in this gubernatorial race, and if you're a state legislator, you're going to have to deal with a lot of executive orders from whoever is in that office. I'm assuming if a Republican, if a Darren Bailey, or if Jesse Sullivan, or if a Paul Schimpf, Gary Raybon, if they get in, they're going to start doing executive orders to try to clean up the mess that Governor J.B. Pritzker Jellybean has created.
Yes.
And my question to you would be, what do you think about going after Republicans the way that Richard Irvin is going after Darren Bailey, Jesse Sullivan, via mailers, via attack ads?
Well, I think Ronald Reagan said it best about Republicans attacking other Republicans. I think it's just kind of disgraceful, to be honest with you. Run on the issues. People want to know what you're going to do about the economy. They want to know what you're going to do about inflation. They want to know what you're going to do for our schools and our roads. Those are the things that matter to everyday people, not whether or not you can slander the other guy more or take shots. I mean, where do these candidates stand? That's what I want to know. So
I get ineffective.
I get very turned off. Like, I see these mailings come out. They go directly in the garbage because I know they're false and I know they're not accurate, but they're actually talking about the issues. And I think that's really what you're going to see coming out of this governor's race is Illinoisans are probably more in tune to the issues today than they've ever been because of the lockdowns and the mandates. People are frustrated. Parents are mad about what's going on in schools. We've reached that boiling point. And we don't want to hear the nonsense about trashing another opponent. We want to talk about issues. And if you can't talk about issues, you shouldn't be running.
Kyle Hamm says it best. He is running for state representative in the 105th district. Now, another question to you. How you mentioned that people are waking up to this, the COVID-19 mandates, all of that. It's kind of spurred up this energy. You have this energy because you're a businessman and you want to see a direction for Illinois and be where we are at a place where we're fiscally responsible. Now, how did you kind of get into your state run? I think that there's a lot of people who aren't willing to go out there and get involved with McLean County GOP.
Right.
And what has the McLean County GOP done for you? And how did you even go about, what was the logistics of you getting into this race?
Well, so I've been active in GOP politics since I was in high school. I volunteered for local politicians. I was the president of the College Republicans at Monmouth College. My first job, I went straight to work for Attorney General Jim Ryan, and I helped him become Attorney General. He ran for governor against Blagojevich, which changed the course of our Illinois history. But I have been helping local, state, federal politicians get elected, conservatives, good conservatives, for the last 25 years. So I'm not a newcomer to the party. I've been to every Lincoln Day in the state of Illinois, a proud badge I wear. But that's part of what I think I bring to the table is I have this vast network of relationships that I've built up over 25 years. I'm a true warrior for the party and have been. My credentials, I've worked on presidential races, up and down the board, even local races, because I think local races sometimes are much more important than the bigger races. So I've been active in the party for a very long time, and I think that one thing that's really sort of slipped in the last maybe 10 years, part of it is because Democrats have been in sole control, is, well, when I first started out in politics 25 years ago, every county had a Republican Party apparatus. It was very active. It was robust. It recruited people. And that has waned over the years. And I think one of the things that I would like to see and continue to help if I'm successful is helping build the party back up. How do we build the party and recruit good candidates, bring more people to the table to think like we do? I think there's a lot of people out there that believe in the things we believe. They're just afraid to say it, and empower them to come on board to be a part of our party, because we're seeing great things happen in Florida, Texas, other Republican-run states. And that's why people are fleeing to those states. They want to be a part of those low-tax, freedom-loving states, and we can become one of those.
And Kyle Hamm, we're talking with him. He's he's going to be running for state representative in the 105th district. So you had mentioned the changing of history with that Blagojevich race, and I kind of want to pick your brain on that because it's really interesting. And then I do have a harder question for you, and hopefully we get to it in a few minutes here. But the history of Blagojevich and how that kind of changed the attorney general that you had worked for, and he ran against Blagojevich, right? And what exactly was that so pivotal about that?
So you kind of look back, you had several years of Governor Thompson, Governor Edgar, where at that time, when I first came into Illinois politics, the state ranked in the top 5 of every category. We were top in manufacturing, logistics, education. We had balanced budgets. We didn't have near the pension debt we had 25 years ago. And then there was a shift, and a lot of people don't realize that Democrats have been in control of the legislature for about 44 years, only 2 of which Republicans were in charge of. So Democrats have had control of the House for 40-some years, but we've actually had some Republican governors. So the line there when we went from Governor Edgar to Blagojevich was where we started to see this massive slip in spending, bad decision making, pensions just piling on, and that's the last 20-some years of Democrat control with governors here in the state of Illinois. So to me, that was sort of a pivotal point when Blagojevich came into office and just was an absolute disaster for our state. And it's just continued on that downward spiral since then. So, I've been able to look over the last 25 years and see that there was a point in time where Illinois was doing very well. We ranked in the top 5, like I said, almost every category, and now we're at the bottom 5 of just about every category. And 25 years sounds like a long time, but it's really actually a very short period of time to take that dramatic of a fall.
We're pushing up against a break here, but we're going to come back and I'm going to interview you on one question. It's going to be a tougher question. Come back, Conservative Cat, Cities 92.9.
The Morning Buzz is your hometown conservative show that gets how busy you are. You're a conservative. We know you aren't sitting on the couch, but take some time and plug us into your aux. The Morning Buzz is now on Spotify, on cities929.com. Cities 92.9's dependable weather from WMBD.
Highs near 72 for today with showers and thunderstorms as a cold front pushes through, especially areas east of the Illinois River. 1 or 2 storms could be on the strong side. WMBD meteorologist Adam Sherwinski.
The weather's being brought to you by Bab Service. Don't let heavy rains and a bad sump pump ruin your basement. Have Jerry install a new sump pump with battery backup. Shoot Jerry an email at jerry@babservice.com.
Jones Country Gardens is flourishing with thousands of homegrown spring items. Hi, this is Jenny, and you heard that right. We grow our own annuals, perennials, hanging baskets, patio pots, and more to provide you with the highest quality nursery items in the area. Family owned and operated for more than 25 years, Jones Country Gardens offers everything you need for a beautiful home or garden. Stop by one of our convenient locations located in rural Pontiac and on East Main Street in Streeter. Check us out at jonescountrygardens.com.
In 2015, Black Lives Matter chanted. In March 2021, Aurora Mayor Richard Irvin wrote, "I support Black Lives Matter strongly and passionately." In July 2020, Black Lives Matter rioters did this to Chicago police in Grant Park.
Police said the PVC pipe used to hold the Black Lives Matter banners had been sharpened and were taken out and used to jab at officers.
In March 2021, Richard Irvin wrote, "I support Black Lives Matter strongly and passionately." In August 2020, Black Lives Matter Chicago organizer Ariel Atkins said,
"I don't care if somebody decides to loot a Gucci or a Nike."
In March 2021, Richard Irvin wrote, "I support Black Lives Matter strongly and passionately." For years, Black Lives Matter promoted looting our cities and deconstructing the nuclear family. Yet Richard Irvin bragged, "I support Black Lives Matter strongly and passionately." And Richard Irvin wants to be your Republican candidate for governor only in Illinois. Tell Richard Irvin you won't support a Republican who supports Black Lives Matter. Vote no on Richard Irvin. Paid for by people who play by the rules PAC.
And paid for by MaxPace Marketing. Attention! If you've had hernia surgery and have experienced complications such as chronic pain, infection, wound reopening, mesh migration, bowel obstruction, need revision surgery, or other complications, you may be entitled to significant cash compensation. Hernia repair surgery is common and requires a mesh product to be implanted inside your body. In May of 2016, the manufacturer of a popular hernia mesh product issued a mandatory global recall due to product defects. If you've had hernia surgery and have experienced complications, you may be entitled to significant cash compensation. Call the Hernia Mesh Helpline now at 800-797-0539. Our experienced attorneys will fight to get you the compensation you deserve. You pay nothing unless we get a recovery in your favor. Time is limited to file a claim, so call the Hernia Mesh Helpline now. 800-797-0539. Operators are standing by 24/7. Call 800-797-0539. That's 800-797-0539.
As an organ donor, your story doesn't have to end. The good in you can live on. In fact, you could save up to 8 lives and restore sight and health for many more. Sign up right now online as an organ, eye, and tissue donor. You'll be happy you did. Just maybe someone else will be happy too. Go to organdonor.gov. It saves lives. U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, Health Resources and Services Administration.
Severe thunderstorms and tornadoes happen at any time, day or night. And that's why Cities 92.9 is on top of the weather 24/7. From the Snyder Insurance Severe Weather Center, Cities teams with WMBD TV to bring you all the latest information to keep you and your family safe. From Snyder Insurance,
reach them 24/7 on the web at insurewithsnyder.com.
Listen for severe weather coverage from the Snyder Insurance Severe Weather Center. Only on Cities 92.9, the news and talk of Bloomington Normal.
Hey, it's Conservative Cat, Cities 92.9, the news and talk of Bloomington Normal. With me in studio, I have Kyle Hamm. Kyle Hamm is running as a state representative in the 105th District. You're most likely in it, so go check McLeanCountyRepublicans.org. And we were talking a little bit off air, and we were talking about short-staffed. Kyle runs a very successful business by the sounds of it, and he has a location here in Peoria. And he's talking about these openings that he has, 300 openings in your company. And we even haven't had an opening here at Great Plains Media for a sales rep. And it's hard to find people. It's hard to find people to even staff the retail stores, the fast food places. It's insane. You go there and sometimes they've got notes on the door that say no staffing. So what is that? I really don't know. I can't put my finger on it where I'm like, yes, it's this, because the jobs are there.
Right.
But COVID-19, people didn't flee back to these jobs. I don't know.
It's a perfect storm that COVID kind of highlighted. And so during COVID, you had the government incentive payments, you had the extended unemployment. We were basically paying people to stay home. And that is on top of just the bad policy of having all kinds of government assistance for people that are able-bodied to work. I think if you're capable of working, you should work. We have a safety net in the state of Illinois for those that need it, and those are things that are important. But there are probably hundreds, if not thousands, if not tens of thousands of people that are on government assistance that should be working. And we've lost this idea of taking pride in having a job, making a living. I talk to my kids about, there's nothing rewarding about somebody just handing you a check to live off of. If you go out and earn something and make something, it means so much more to you, and you care for it more, you spend it more wisely, and we've lost that. We don't teach that in schools today. I think Florida just passed a bill to teach fiscal economic responsibility for kids.
Is that something you would draft up?
I would totally draft that. That's something I think should be front and center. Like kids at a very young age, third grade, fourth grade. My 10-year-old understands, money and spending money, and I've spent too much, or I don't have enough to spend. We should be teaching that. That's stuff that you can use in life valuable tools, and so. That's an easy thing. Why would anybody disagree with teaching kids about fiscal responsibility, how to use credit cards or don't use credit cards, how to balance their checkbook, and talk about borrowing money. If you borrow money, you got to pay it back.
Yeah.
I took 10 years to pay my college back. It took 10 years for me to pay it back when I was in my 20s, but I did, and I'm proud of that. So,
what'd you get your degree in?
Political science and history.
Oh, okay. So this is a good segue. Shifting gears here a little bit. So you have been in the Republican Party from day one. I mean, Kyle Ham came out and he was like, "All right, we're going for Republican," and that's awesome and it's exciting. But there is this Republican type, I love Dan Brady. But I do think that you get into a position where you are a career politician and you lose sight of the values, and you're working in a cog that is Springfield, and you get stuck. So are you an established Republican?
No. I think I've been as critical of my own party as probably anyone has when they've gotten soft on issues and refused to fight. I try not to debate with people about Donald Trump. But one thing I can say about Donald Trump is he gave a voice to the party, that you can actually fight back, say the things that you think are true, and not be afraid to say it and be labeled something. So I think Republicans now more than ever in the last 4 or 5 years have a voice to call out hypocrisy, call out bad government, call out bad policy, and not be afraid to be, whiplash back that somehow you're a bad person. So I think now more than ever, Republicans are empowered, and there's times where I've just been kind of just disenfranchised with the party. But I think now more than ever, people are motivated. People that are sort of more centric are motivated, particularly suburban parents. Mm-hmm. Suburban women are buying more guns and getting more FOID cards than anybody right now. Mm-hmm. The people that used to probably fight against guns are now the ones buying them because they understand what that means for their safety.
Yeah. So would you be in favor of voiding the FOID?
Absolutely.
Yes,
Absolutely.
Yes. See, I'm so scared to get my FOID card because I really just don't want my name out there in some sort of system. But I get it. You're right. You need to bear arms. But yeah, I come across that all of the time where women are kind of they're concerned. I know I go out to my parents and I shoot their guns and I try to learn about guns and learn about it in a safe way, which is another thing about teaching our kids the things that they need to know about. So the Second Amendment, right? You as an American citizen, and everybody's an American citizen if you reside here in the United States, have the right to bear arms. And we don't teach gun safety at all. We don't teach anything about guns, and we don't teach things about fiscal responsibility, and that's also in our Constitution, the right to life, liberty, the pursuit of the right to life and liberty. That would be like the living that you make it affords you that liberty and that life, because that's just how the world works. Money makes the world go round.
Yeah, I think with this increasingly spike in crimes and carjackings, people understand what it's going to take to be having that self-defense. And if you can use the example of Ukraine, of everyday people, grandmothers and everyday people taking arms to defend their community, that's enough to say the right to bear arms is an essential part of our rights, and we should not do anything to get in the way of that.
Right. Talking to Kyle Ham, he's running as a state representative in the 105th district. I'm kind of curious. So would you implement legislation, and what do you think about the whole retail theft crime thing? I know that they created this bill in the state legislature, and they pushed out this bill that addresses retail crime theft. But it doesn't really get at the heart of like the issue of, hey, these people are, in Section 8 housing. They don't have the money, and they're going out and they're robbing people. What do you think will actually combat the issue of retail crime? Because that's huge. People walk into the stores and they just take things now. I've seen it here in Bloomington. Somebody was walking out, and the greeter at Walmart right here across the street of Veterans. Somebody was walking out with something in their hands, and then the greeter goes, "Did you pay for that?" And he goes, "No." And then he walked out. Right. And then I was like, wait, and I looked at the greeter and I go, "Did that just happen?" And he goes, "It happens like 2-3 times a day." And here in Bloomington.
Yeah, I know, it's everywhere.
This isn't even Chicago.
Thou shalt not steal. The morality of it is just lost, that somehow it's acceptable to this behavior, and it is not acceptable to me and in any community that wants to thrive. And we see these magnificent cities that are just collapsing, San Francisco, Chicago, because they're allowing this behavior, and I think it's despicable. And so I will be an advocate to be strong on crime. I think even petty theft is something that has to be addressed, because it just continues to spiral out of control. With these gangs going out and doing these things, and you're seeing almost a 50% abandonment rate on Magnificent Mile. Of all places, Magnificent Mile, there's shuttered doors because businesses can't do it anymore, and they don't want to do it. So that's coming to a community near you if we don't stop and take these things seriously and hold people accountable, bring back bond. You can't just walk into jail, walk back out of jail because you did something bad. There needs to be some accountability and some punishment to that. And I'm a big advocate for being strong on crime.
Yeah. Now, what would you say to people who say that ending cash bail is it's a race thing? That's what I get all of the time. People are like, well, cash bail is racist. And expecting people to pay their bail is racist. I've never understood that. What's your take on it?
I guess I don't understand it either, because a crime or crime is no matter who commits it.
It's like, I really don't understand it either.
A crime's a crime no matter who commits it. And we spend so much time trying to identify people by the color of their skin. Let's just judge people by the character. So that's how I look at anyone. I don't look at people's color. I look at their character and how they present themselves. And so let's stop talking about that. Who's committing what crimes? Let's just hold people accountable for any crime that they commit, whether they look like us or don't look like us.
I love it. Kyle Ham. And Kyle Ham, tell us, how do we find out more about you, and where do we go to learn more about your run? And are you having like a meet and greet anytime soon?
Yeah, so I've got an event here in Bloomington that Darren LaHood's headlining for me May 3rd at Rob Dobbs from 5 to 7. Anybody's welcome to come by. And so we'll be doing lots of meet and greets around the district. I've got one in Pontiac coming up in May. I've got one in Toluca, up in Henry and Lakin. So you can go to my Facebook page to find all of our events and more information about me. Over the coming month, we'll be releasing more and more stances on issues that are critical to this district. So my Facebook page, it's Kyle Ham for State Rep 105. You can find that page there.
Awesome. Well, thanks so much, Kyle, for being in. All right. Conservative Cat, coming up next, we're going to talk about the fiscal responsibility that Governor J.B. Pritzker is touting. Come back after the break.
2021 is in the rearview mirror. It's time to look at the road ahead. Hi, this is Pam from Driscoll's. If you've been waiting to buy a new vehicle, well, you're not alone. But don't wait. Jump to the head of the line. Stop in and see what's new in the Chevrolet, Buick, and GMC lineup. If you like what you see, call Dibs. Put your name on it. Driscoll, Chevrolet, Buick, GMC, and Pontiac. Your did-it-done-it and still dealing dealer.
Prairie State Tractor is working with local farmers this year to promote the Start Seeing Farmers campaign. They have one goal: keeping our local farmers safe on the roads during planting season. Our dedicated staff are ready to serve our local farmers with any of their John Deere equipment, parts, or service needs. Visit us at any of our 8 convenient locations or online at prairiestatetractor.com.
If your business or home in or around McLean County was damaged by flooding June 25th through 27th, the U.S. Small Business Administration has assistance for you. Whether you're a business owner, homeowner, renter, or nonprofit, you can apply for a low-interest disaster loan to help fund the repairs that aren't covered by insurance. Apply online at disasterloanassistance.sba.gov before September 24th. For more information, call 1-800-659-2955.
Charlie Kirk, the man known for his community activism, courage, and wit. He's bringing it here to Sundays from 9 to noon. You don't want to miss the Charlie Kirk Show on Cities 92.9.
Governor J.B. Pritzker, Jelly Bean, he is a complete tyrant. Hey, it's Conservative Cat Cities 92.9. And you can tell that the tyranny is not very favorable among those who are Illinoisans, right? Many companies right now, they're turning to these automated video interviews or AVIs in an effort to save money because we don't have it in the state of Illinois. Although Governor J.B. Pritzker, he'll make sure that you know that he spent $1.8 billion in tax relief. Actually, it's temporary tax relief for 6 months, and he did it just so that way he could get through the midterms. But these AVIs are telling companies what they need to know about job candidates. So that's a question. Northern Illinois University psychology professor, her name's Rachel, and she sought out an answer in a research in the Journal of Applied Psychology. So large employers, they're using this asynchronous video interviews to whittle down job applicants to a smaller pool so that way they can meet in person. In some instances, like these recordings will be watched by the employer's hiring managers. In other instances, the platform algorithms will assess the candidate based on what they said or even their facial expressions. Crazy. Listen to this. The computers assess applicants' characteristics and personalities based on pattern behaviors. Oh boy, this is crazy. I mean, when the world starts going crazy, we've got to stop in our tracks and stop doing this crazy technology. These behaviors that are not explicitly expressed in a traditional interview, these are things like nonverbal behaviors like smiles. AVI picks that up. There is evidence that these technologies can contain bias that excludes some categories of job seekers. So Berkeley Haas for Equity, Gender, and Leadership reports that 44% of these AVI systems are now embedded with gender bias. Yeah, so they've created artificial intelligence that can tell if you're being biased. Rachel's research shows that AVI personality assessments exhibit stronger evidence of validity when they were trained on interview reports rather than self-reports. This is crazy. Artificial intelligence is nuts. I don't know if you've seen it, but there's these little chips that go into your hand, and you can pay with these chips in your hand. It replaces a credit card, essentially. It almost is like one of those chips in the actual card. So the research shows that AVI personality assessments exhibit stronger evidence of validity when they were trained on interviewer reports rather than self-reports. So if an interviewer is there training them. As developers have attempted to remove biases and increase reliability of the interviewing process, Rachel said that we still don't know, or we still know very little, and how these AVIs are experienced by categories of job applicants and how accurate they can be. So this research into the effects of AVIs have on job applications and job applicants are in the early stages, but the Harvard Business Review found that the job candidates were confused about the type of interview that they were asked to undertake and often didn't know how they were going to be assessed by AVI, and the lack of understanding reflects widespread concern that job seekers are misinformed, leading to legal questions. We need to make sure it is being used in a basically smart way. This is what Rachel said. Is it providing useful information about applicants and how they will perform on the job? You know the best way? Making people feel comfortable and getting back to that ideology of, wow, I'm proud to be in this job. I like this job. And we were just talking with Kyle Ham, and he's wildly successful in his business. And we were talking about how people aren't filling into these roles. And he has 300 openings for his business currently. Now, Bloomington Normal, our unemployment rate is actually down, and we're doing pretty good in comparison to the rest of the state. Now, Bloomington's unemployment rate is now 3.7%. That's the lowest in the state. That's down from 5.2% last year. But Bloomington also saw an increase. It was 6.6% in non-farm jobs over the same period of time. And that's all according to the U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics, Illinois Department of Employment Security. So Bloomington's doing pretty well, but that's probably because we've got things like Rivian, State Farm, and big industry. And I've said it multiple times, Bloomington Normal, it's the next Chicago. I'm sorry. They've destroyed their land up in Chicago, and now they're coming to our land. And to be honest with you, Rivian being backed by George Soros really is concerning. But I hope they do stay in Bloomington Normal because it's good for the economy, and there's lots of jobs. We were talking about that with Kyle Ham. Now, Rivian is having a hard time. Why Rivian stock crashed this week and could even go lower? The last day in March is when Rivian filed its 10K report. The company confirmed that it was facing a huge shortage of key parts like semiconductors and that it's being forced to make changes to its processes, and it's only adding costs that aren't going down because Biden inflation. Investors thought it couldn't get any worse, as Rivian had only recently said it expects to produce only 25,000 vehicles this year, or half of what it has produced, if not for the supply changes. That's a significantly low number. Yet on April 18th, the CEO warned investors of a looming and even bigger threat to the growth: the battery supply. Rivian's stock is plunged, and the CEO said that the battery shortage could even surpass the semiconductor crunch. This is a big deal. For perspective, the semiconductor chip shortage was first reported in 2020 and has only worsened and hit the automotive industry the hardest. EVs in particular use the chips more so than a traditional combustion engine car. In the days that followed this announcement of the shortage, several analysts downgraded their ratings and price targets on Rivian stock. Now what? Rivian has too many problems at hand. It faces a shortage of key raw materials and struggles to ramp up production while burning through cash rapidly. Additionally, the company faces increasing competition with each passing day. For example, Ford will start selling its much-awaited F-150 Lightning all-electric pickup truck starting April 26th to Tesla, meanwhile, opened a gigafactory in Texas this month where it plans to manufacture a Cybertruck touted to compete with Rivian's R1T electric truck. So they've got some uphill battles. But like we talked with Kyle Ham, business is always it's always an up and down thing. Listen to this bit of audio. Kevin McCarthy caught on tape. In shifting gears here, he says he would convince Trump that he should resign. Listen to this.
Liz, you on the phone?
Yeah, I'm here. Thanks, Kevin. I guess there's a question. When we were talking about the 25th Amendment resolution,
yeah,
and you asked if what happens if it gets there after he's gone. Is there any chance? Are you hearing that he might resign? Is there any reason to think that might happen?
I've had some few discussions. My gut tells me no. I'm seriously thinking of having that conversation with him tonight. I haven't talked to him in a couple days. From what I know of him, I mean, you guys all know him too. Do you think he'd ever back away? But what I think I'm going to do is I'm going to call him. This is what I think. No, it'll pass the House. I think there's a chance it'll pass the Senate even when he's gone. And I think there's a lot of different ramifications for that. Now, I haven't had a discussion with the Dems that if he did resign, would it not happen? Now, this is one personal fear I have. I do not want to get into any conversations about Pence party, anything like that. I mean, the only discussion I would have with him is that I think this will pass, and it would be my recommendation we should resign. I mean, that would be my take, but I don't think he would take it, but I don't know.
Many Republicans and Trump supporters have had their doubts about leader Kevin McCarthy's allegiance to the Trump and to the America First agenda. While the tortured relationship between Mitch McConnell and Trump has played out loud and clear, McCarthy has walked away this fine line between staying in the good graces of the
news you need, the news you want. This is Cities 92.9, WRPW, Colfax, Bloomington Normal. It's 7 o'clock.